Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. Steps are being taken by the UTT to increase the delivery of tertiary education. Local government ministry strengthening partnership with Canada. And in sport, North Zone Basketball League doubleheader highlights. Thank you for joining us to our top story. Steps to boost the delivery of tertiary education in this country are being taken by the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Speaking at a seminar on character leadership and change in higher education was Science, Technology and Tertiary Education Minister Senator Fazal Karim, who was applauding the initiatives by UTT to impact the tertiary education sector. Verna Barath has the story.
The University of the West Indies, in collaboration with the Ministry of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education, are discussing initiatives to impact the concept that persons have about tertiary education and how it is perceived and even perhaps conducted in this country. This from Tertiary Education Minister Fazal Karim, who was speaking at a seminar on character leadership and change in higher education at Napa, where several of the facilitators were from the California University of Pennsylvania.
Character, leadership and change in higher education, as it is another occasion that will hopefully open the door to a paradigm shift in the way that tertiary education is perceived and perhaps conducted in our local landscape. The University of Trinidad and Tobago should be applauded for taking such steps to host this seminar, which will serve to enlighten all of us who work diligently in the delivery of tertiary education in Trinidad and Tobago.
Minister Karim says the various initiatives being taken in making tertiary education more accessible will serve to transform the lives of the youth in Trinidad and Tobago.
Accessibility to tertiary education in Trinidad and Tobago should be credited with changing the lives of our youth in Trinidad and Tobago. I would also like to make this point that while we continue to focus on the youth, this accessibility has also been linked to a new demographic of learners who have returned to the fold of learning after retirement. These persons have now joined many institutions, including the University of Trinidad and Tobago, as undergraduate and postgraduate students, seeing perhaps for the first time in their lives the advantages and the rewards inherent in the pursuit of these personal goals, let alone the impact and the effect that they have on those within their own families and particularly their young ones. This is one more way in which the University of Trinidad and Tobago ensures that students are given every opportunity to enter, to exit, and to re-enter the tertiary education system.
Several character traits were also highlighted by Minister Karim as critical attributes to be incorporated into the tertiary education system in an effort to promote all-round personal development.
Integrity and trustworthiness, and indeed strength of character, are attributes that are very important in every endeavor of life. It is in fact this resolve or lack thereof that can either cause the ascension or the demise of many careers and aspirations. More than that, the personal implications are often equally quite troubling. As individuals, we must all aspire to greatness and find our own direction, our own moral compass.
Tertiary education specialists were also present at the seminar discussing the themes character, leadership and change. Among them was Executive Director at the Character Education Institute at the California University of Pennsylvania, Mr. Ron Paul, who expounded on the critical importance that education plays in transforming lives and society as a whole. Verna Barath, News 4.
When we return, Local Government Minister Chandra Sharma speaks on the country's strengthened partnership with Canada. Stay with us.
Let you Come to our beaches. We're looking out for you.
Welcome back. This country's partnership with Canada is said to have begun to take strong root as it has announced plans to establish its headquarters for the local economic development program that aims to address other partners in the Caribbean. Local Government Minister Chandra Sharma disclosed the latest during this week's post-cabinet media briefing, and Kimberly Ramkalawan reports.
Over 125 million TT dollars will be spent by the Canadian government to establish a local economic development program for the Caribbean. The decision to establish the centre is to assist Caribbean countries in expanding their economies. Minister of Local Government Chandra Sharma made the announcement during this week's post-cabinet media briefing, where he said the headquarters will be established here in TNT.
The Canadian government is lending support to CARILED for the head office to be located here in Trinidad. The responsibility of the government of Trinidad and Tobago is to make a physical space available to them. And this would service the entire CARICOM and other places as well. And it's going to start off with an initial injection of close to 24 million Canadian dollars, which is in excess of 125 million TT dollars. A number of countries in the CARICOM, as I indicated, would be participating. It means that the Trinidad and Tobago is going to become the center to conduct this business. Some of these countries will include the Bahamas, Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, Suriname, in addition to that, Antigua, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Nevis, among others. So we are in a very good position. It makes the further point that countries outside of Trinidad continue to be very interested in this Caribbean and to a larger extent in Trinidad and Tobago.
The building will be located in the Central District and will be housed at the old Shogunas Borough Hall.
An office is going to be set up here. We're hoping to make the space available at the old Shogunas Borough Corporation Hall because we have moved to new headquarters there. And it's going to be independently maintained. There will also be persons from Canada working at it, from the Cedar, in addition to the other islands as well. So it would have nothing to do with their location at the ministry.
The partnership comes on the heels of Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissess's announcement that a trade agreement had been signed with Canada following a meeting with Prime Minister Stephen Harper during the 6th Summit of the Americas held recently in Colombia.
A number of businesses will benefit, small, medium. Over the years, many CEDA has funded many projects, and this contribution is largely coming from CEDA. This has been in operation, and that's why I asked, because you were in business before. CEDA has funded projects, so the rules of engagement obtains there, all of it. And its money is available to go into business, and what CEDA did in the past continues.
Minister Sharma says a number of organizations stand to benefit from the headquarters to be based in Trinidad. The minister assured that while the centre will be independent of the government, it was seeking to ensure its full benefit to Trinidad and Tobago. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Cabinet has approved amendments to the State Land Act as it looks to give more power to the Commissioner of State Lands to remove squatters. Minister of Food Production, the Honourable Vasant Bharat, made the announcement saying that government was looking to free up more state lands for the purposes of agriculture and farming. Again, here's Kimberly Ramkalawan.
Amendments to the State Land Act will soon see the easy removal of squatters from government lands. The decision comes as Cabinet looks to capitalize on its availability of lands for the growing of crops that would in turn enable a lowering of the food import bill. Food Production Minister Senator Vasant Bharat said the changes will look at removing the gaps that exist under the current legislation and prevents the relevant agencies from acquiring the lands.
We've had a situation in the past where, because of this backup in the system, many people have not been able to access the incentives that the ministry has offered because they've not had the regularization that they require to be able to go to the bank and either get a loan or to be able to access the ministry's incentive program. That has now changed. We have now disentangled this whole issue of land tenure from the ability to access incentives or to go to the bank. So we've now opened up far more acres of land that was lying barren and idle in previous years.
The minister assured that illegal residents will be given sufficient notice for vacating the lands.
Commissioner of State Lands will be in a position to move in and remove squatters almost immediately. The right of self-help, which is allowing the commissioner to go in and remove squatters, will be allowed. Squatters will be given a time frame. They will actually be given notice of 7 days to remove their belongings before it's demolished, and those demolished items and belongings must be removed within 24 hours after it has been after the property has been demolished or the structure has been demolished.
He explained that farmers had found difficulty in accessing lands due to the backlog of lease requests, and that the ministry was looking to cut the processing time for acquiring leases.
We have embarked on a restructuring exercise of the land division, which will allow us in a very short space of time, in fact in mere months, to be in a position to make a commitment that any file that comes into the ministry as far as the renewal of a lease or the granting of a lease will no longer take more than 6 months. That's a commitment we're going to make to the population, that by streamlining the organization, streamlining that particular sector, we're going to be able to get a lease in and out in a maximum of 6 months.
It is expected that following approval by Cabinet, the proposed amendments to the Act will be taken to Parliament before it becomes law. Kimberly Ram-Calawan, News 4.
When we come back, the opening of the Trinidad and Tobago Literary Festival 2012. Stay with us.
Hey Tinty, I know you all accustomed to see me on the beach, but remember, water safety begins at home. So you see those water containers you all use at home? Things like mop buckets, tubs, wash buckets, those kind of stuff. Make sure you empty it properly and secure it after use. And you know those water containers where we store water in? Make sure you cover and secure properly after use. So little babies and toddlers don't get into it now. You know what could happen.
Those of you who have swimming pools at home, make sure it's properly fenced. And you know, everybody have an inflatable pool at home. When you finish with it, empty the water out and deflate it. Hey, you see them fish tanks we have in the yard? Be sure and get a strong wire mesh and cover it properly. And these barrels, I remember of a time, my father sent me to get a bucket of water from in the barrel, but the barrel was only half full. So I leaning into the barrel like this, and lo and behold, I fall into the barrel. Good thing my brother was there to push down the barrel, and I come tumbling out of the barrel. It sounded funnier, but no, for real, it happens. So let's be sure to secure the barrels properly. And remember, water safety begins at home.
Thank you for staying with us. The opening ceremony of the Trinidad and Tobago Literary Festival 2012 took place in Port of Spain, where a workshop of new writers, films, discussions and performance poetry were all parts of the events for the day. Minister of Planning and the Economy, Dr. the Honorable Bowendradat Tiwari, also took the stage. Verna Barth has more.
Several of this country's top artists came together for the opening ceremony of the Trinidad and Tobago Literary Festival 2012. Planning and the Economy Minister Dr. Tiwari says his ministry fully supports the initiative, saying it will assist in boosting this country's culture.
We are supporting this and we will continue to support it beyond this year. And it is a wonderful initiative. It was something that was needed in the society. I think it's significant that it has come out of the community itself, and more than that, that it has brought together a number of stakeholders, really at the end of the day, to enrich the life, culture, spirit of Trinidad and Tobago, and to make those international connections that also make it even more worthwhile and engaging and valuable.
Dr. Tiwari delivered an entertaining excerpt from V.S. Naipaul's literature.
Chittaranjan relented. Sit down, the both of all you. You want some sweet drink? Harban shook his head vigorously. Chittaranjan ignored this. Let me call the girl. For the first time he looked at Harbans. Nalini, bring some sweet drink. Daughter, Harbans asked, as though he didn't know about Nalini, little Nellie, as though all Elvira didn't know that Chittaranjan wanted Nellie married to Harbans' son, that this was the bargain to be settled this afternoon. Yes, Chittaranjan said deprecatingly. Daughter, one and only. Have a son myself, Harbans said. Look at that, eh? Ambitious boy going to take up doctoring, just going on 18. Foam sat silent, appreciating the finer points of the bargaining. He knew that in normal circumstances, Chittaranjan, as a girl's father, would have pleaded and put himself out to please. But the elections were not normal circumstances, and now it was Harbans who had to be careful not to offend.
West Indian literature professor Kenneth Ramchand quoted from Trinidadian novelist Samuel Salvon.
In his largely unknown work, Sam Salvon recognizes that our refusal to think and feel for ourselves is a hangover from colonialism. This is what he says in a poem called Discovering Tropic. Everything that exists, all matter, all energy, the planets, the stars, and the galaxies, can lead to a change of skin and liberate us from the oppressive histories and the obsessions of the world and the flesh, bringing down the power for us to walk in real freedom.
Festival director Marina Solandi Brown says this year's event was quite successful, having had twice the number of writers of previous festivals. Veena Bharath, News 4.
Every secondary school graduate in this country will in a few years' time be able to acquire post-secondary education and training. This comes from Science, Technology and Tertiary Education Minister, Senator the Honorable Fazal Karim, who was speaking at the National Consultations on Life Skills at UWI St. Augustine. Veena Bharath has more.
By the next academic year, almost 50% of secondary school graduates will be given the opportunity to access tertiary education. The statement by Science, Technology and Tertiary Education Minister, Senator Fazal Karim, who was speaking at a public consultation on the review of the National Life Skills Curriculum at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. Minister Karim adds that over the past 10 years, government has spent over $10 billion on tertiary education and training alone. He says government's aim is to increase access to higher education to 60% in the next 3 years. The transformation of the education system at the post-secondary and tertiary sectors is an initiative he says will enable citizens to enter and lead more contented, healthy and productive lives as adults in various sectors of society.
The magnitude of the government's expenditure on tertiary education alone over the past decade has been phenomenal, to the order of 14 billion TT dollars. This level of investment reflects not only the growing social need for a better skilled and qualified workforce and citizenry, but as a response to the global demands and the need for transformation in the areas of education, commerce, and industrialization.
Minister Karim is informing that via the various tertiary education institutions in this country, thousands of additional places in the training system are being created. He says very soon will post-secondary education be made available to all secondary school graduates.
The vision, like my cabinet colleague, of universal tertiary education, which includes post-secondary training, is now not an unachievable task. With over 18,000 tertiary education seats available annually through CUSTAT, UWI, UTT, and at the private tertiary level institutions, and an additional 16,000 places in the training system for incoming students, we will in the next 3 years be able to offer every graduate of the secondary school system a place in the post-secondary education.
The national consultations are expected to update and revise the existing curriculum to suit the social and gender-based changes in relation to the world of work. Life skills have been defined by the World Health Organization as abilities for adaptive and positive behavior that enables individuals to deal effectively with the demands and challenges of everyday life. Therefore, promoting self-esteem and self-responsibility while developing positive social skills and critical thinking are all on the agenda for the consultations. Minister Karim outlined some of the issues to be discussed in the consultations. Veena Bharath, News 4.
When we come back, Wayne Cunningham has our sport report. Stay with us.
Now, if you are in a flood-prone area, move your valuable items above expected floodwaters.
Construct flood barriers to prevent water from entering your home or building.
The next big problem that causes flooding is the dumping of garbage and appliances by the river. How much times we'll say to put the old stove and fridge by the river bank? Listen, it's going to create even more flooding.
Here are some other precautions you can take.
Turn off gas and electricity. Unplug all electrical appliances.
Put dangerous liquids like strong chemicals and flammable liquids in a safe place and close those containers tightly.
Place important documents, passport, deed, birth certificate, in waterproof containers or sealed plastic bags.
Common sense now. Park your vehicle in an area that will not flood.
Secure pets on higher ground.
Have an emergency plan for your family or business so you'll know what to do beforehand, where you will go, and how you will deal with the flooding situation.
That was some real good tips, Steve. But at the end of the day, flooding takes place. And if indeed you become a victim of flooding, here is the hookup. You need to contact your regional corporation or the ODPM at 800 ODPM.
Great, Jason. Remember, damages caused by flooding can be minimized. So let's plan and prepare.
In order to safeguard our family, our community, and our country.
A message from the Ministry of National Security, Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management.
Welcome back. In sports, matches continued in the North Zone Basketball League last night with a doubleheader, which featured striker nets in both matches. Wayne Cunningham has the details from those games, but first, it's highlights of Raptors versus Veterans.
The Veterans lineup lived up to their title when they met Raptors in a second division encounter of the North Zone Basketball League, taking the court with former stars such as Barry Stewart, Roland Gishard and Kerry Westfield. But the Raptors were in for a shocker if they thought this game would be easy. And by the half, they were certain the Vets were not. The score, 42-26. On the resumption, Raptors were determined to rein their opponents back in, with their captain Joel Lee leading the charge. But the ball movement of the Veterans was of a superior quality, and Raptors were left gasping often. Gishard with two at the end of this play. And then it was Vandermark Woodley with a bucket, and the Vets regained control. Joel Lee fills the role of player coach for the Raptors, and he calls for a timeout to try and fix the holes. The chat appeared to have done the trick, but it only appeared that way. Veterans answered with 3 points of their own from Roger Springer. They were also too strong under the basket and began to pull far away. The Veterans did it from all over the court while spreading the points around. Their high scorers were Albert Sprout with 12 and Raymond Joseph with 11. The main men for the Raptors were Ricardo Morris, who scored 9, and Rodney Graves with 11 points. That was not enough as the Veterans stormed to an 80-48 victory. In other results, Striker Nets faced Blink Trailblazers in a second division matchup. The Nets won this one easily, 73-58, after trailing by 1 at halftime. Jamal Clark led the scoring with 16 points, and he was supported by Dwayne Otley with 13. 16 was also scored by Giovanni Andrews in a losing effort for Trailblazers, with Jelani Mapp dropping in 12. The Nets also featured in Game 2, a first division clash with Caledonia Clippers. Nets led handsomely at the half, but Caledonia made a surge in the final quarter to grab the win. Miguel Williams was the main man for the winners with a game-high 20 points. Akil Painter had 17 for the Clippers. Mario Davis scored 16 for the Nets and Sadiq Guerra 14 as they went down 79-76. Matches continue on Sunday at the Jean Pierre Sports Complex. Green Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.